Hello, Mrs. F1.
Hello, Mr. F1.
How are you?
I'm tired.
Same.
We did such an eventful morning, guys. We woke up, early in my view of things. We traveled all the way downtown Boston to watch the Arsenal football/soccer game. We watched that. Then we went from that bar to another bar downtown in Boston called Autobahn. So shout out to Autobahn. If you're in the Boston area, great place to watch a race. It is like an F1 bar. And it was pretty cool. What did you think about that? It was our first time watching F1 with like a large group of people.
It was cool. It was hard to hear when the radio, stuff was going on, but other than that, it was a good atmosphere.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had some good food and drink. So if you're in the Boston area or you'll be here and need to watch a race, Autobahn.
That's right.
Great bar. But we've had a very long morning so far, so bear with us as we go through this episode. We were both ready for a nap, to be honest with you.
Yes.
Is that showing our age?
Yes.
We can't even handle 2 sporting events, and we're already ready for a nap?
Yep.
All right, well, let's talk about some F1 news before we get into this race. Angela Cullen leaving has left
Right.
Lewis
Lewis's
Hamilton
team, yeah.
as his physio. I did not see this coming. They've been like the dream team for a really long time.
Well, now that he's losing, no longer the dream team.
I know. What do you think his thinking behind this decision was?
I don't know. Toto made it sound like it was his decision.
Yeah.
But who knows? I don't want to speculate on stuff I don't know. But my guess is that, Lewis wanted to make a change because he's not winning.
Yeah. And it was kind of weird because her announcement very much made it sound like it was her choice to leave Lewis. Mm-hmm. Kind of like saying, like, I'm embarking on a new adventure. So when I first read her post, I was like, oh, wow, Angela's leaving Lewis. And I was like, well, she's getting older. She has kids. She has a family. Lewis doesn't look like he's going to be leaving Formula One anytime soon. So maybe she's like, you know what? This is the time. Mm-hmm. But then Toto, kind of made it sound like Lewis is the one who made the decision.
Yeah. Who knows?
It's a little weird. We'll miss her for sure.
Mm-hmm.
She
Definitely
is the GOAT of physios.
Yep. Yep. Can't miss the beach blonde hair.
I know. And she was there. It's so weird not to see her there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, she really was Lewis's right-hand lady, in every way, shape, or form. And Angela, you will be missed.
Yep.
So that was a big piece of news. There was a lot of news coming out this week. Haas, there are some rumors that Haas Manufacturing, not the team, but the owner, Gene Haas's company. Mm-hmm. If you didn't know that, Haas is a manufacturing company, is speculated to be doing some deals with Russian manufacturers, therefore breaking the sanction the United States has right now with Russia.
Yep.
So that could be bad.
Very much. Yep. And Gene Haas has already served a prison sentence, so hopefully he won't have to serve another one.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Until you said that yesterday.
Yep.
Was it tax evasion?
I don't know. Something like that, probably.
Well, I don't know what that could mean for Haas. I mean, if that's true, that could mean some not great shakeups in the higher up. If Gene goes to jail, who's Gunter going to call?
I don't know.
Who the heck is he going to call?
Yep. Who knows?
But that was another rumor going around the paddock this week, and also just, again, hasn't been confirmed nor denied, but that's going around. The FIA also put out this week that they're looking to ban bicycles for track walks.
Ban bicycles. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Why?
It's almost as stupid as banning jewelry. So stupid.
I swear, the FIA is just like, what are we going to do this week?
Yeah,
what dumb rule can we come up this week?
Yeah, and this is why I say thank God I live in America, where there's freedoms.
Where there's freedoms and we're not ruled by the regime of the FIA, is what you're saying?
Well, basically the FIA is just like the EU. I just look at they're like the EU for cars. They just want to make rules every chance they get.
The EU
Yeah,
for cars.
just straight tyranny, car tyranny.
Car tyranny.
Yeah,
They're
that's all they are.
the dark underlords.
Yes.
I'm trying to scroll through Instagram right now because I know there was a post about it. Oh, I don't see it. But this is just strange to me. Out of all the things they could be spending their time doing, like they've been spending time thinking about banning bicycles. I don't really and to be fully transparent, I haven't looked into this a lot. I've been traveling, so I've just seen little bits and pieces of this. But I just was like, really? Is this like some weird like solidarity with Lance?
Yeah, right. I like how they'll do this type of garbage, but then it'll take them 35 laps and 20 minutes after the race to decide that Alonso needs a penalty.
Oh my God. We'll get into that. We will get into that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting. And of course, we did see that there was another thing filed. The FIA have like thrown out another penalty for Lewis Hamilton wearing jewelry again. This is something I think I'm just going to be accustomed to seeing this year. Quick talk about F1 Academy.
Okay.
The teams are almost 100% filled out.
Mm-hmm.
Prima still has a open spot. Mm-hmm. So each team has 3 drivers in the lineup.
Okay.
We're still waiting to see who they will pick then. But that's pretty exciting. The F1 Academy grid is kind of coming together here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the most exciting thing, which we were super pumped, both you and me, when we saw it, the 2 sisters who are race car drivers together are on an F1 Academy team.
Yes, they are from the UAE.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool because, not that long ago, women weren't allowed to drive in those countries. And now there's 2 professional women racing drivers coming out of that area.
Yeah, and it's even cooler that they're sisters.
Yeah, yep.
I think that's...
They competed in F4 UAE together last year, and I think they did pretty well.
And they will be on the MP team.
Motorsport.
Yeah, MP Motorsport team. So really exciting. And I can't wait to see the first race for F1 Academy. Mm-hmm. It's all kind of coming together now. Mm-hmm. No news on W Series still. Mm-hmm. So I think we can kind of take that as...
No news is now becoming bad news.
Yeah. It's becoming... This is not going to be happening news, I think. Yeah. Which makes me kind of sad because we have seen some of the drivers from W Series sign up with F1 Academy. Mm-hmm. But it also makes me sad because have there been girls who are with teams with W Series that have been kind of waiting or holding out, hoping it'll happen, and now, like, they won't have a seat anywhere.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a bummer. But, yeah, good news all around there. Let's get into the race today. Mm-hmm. On a scale of 1 to 10, where would you put this race, the second race of the season?
It was definitely not as good as last year's Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. That was epic because Charles and Max had that like DRS battle where they were slamming the brakes on before the DRS detection zone. This one was a lot less kind of involved. I mean, other than Max just cruising through the field like they weren't even there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd give it like a 5 or something.
Okay. Yeah, that's where I would have it. 5 or 6, I think. It wasn't super boring, but it wasn't super exciting either. Yeah. We saw some, I would have to say, having Charles and Max toward the back of the field because of Charles' penalty and Max's just unfortunate qualifying situation. Mm-hmm. Kind of made it a little bit more exciting. We saw a lot of overtaking happening.
Sure.
That's always exciting.
Yeah.
Let's start with Max's performance. Like, where do we even start?
Well, I mean, honestly, I predicted him winning the race by like 10 seconds or more. So if anything, I was kind of like disappointed with the result. Yeah. I mean, yeah, he flew through everyone, but I thought for sure he'd be able to catch Checo at the end.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were expecting that too because we've seen it happen.
Yeah.
But wow, was that Red Bull flying?
Yeah, it's clearly just not fair how much faster it is than everybody else's car. I think after Alonso's penalty, the next closest car after the 2 Red Bulls was like 20 seconds behind or something.
Yeah, I think it was like close to 18 seconds by the time the race was over.
So it's just it's not fair. They're killing everybody.
I mean, just watching him pass, especially on the straights, it looked like that car had rocket boosters that it turned on and just like blew past.
Yeah, well, I mean, when a great car starts in the back, we saw it with Lewis 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago? Last year, whenever that was. Like, yeah, it's exciting, but like the car isn't meant to be passing a Williams. It's too good for that. So yeah, it's really easy for Max to make an overtake look epic, but really it's just that the car is so much faster than the other cars around him. Like, it's just, just in his way.
Yeah, I don't like. I just remember watching him pass Lewis Hamilton on the straight and hearing everybody like audibly gasp in the bar we were watching just because of how fast it looked. It looked like like in like the movie Spaceballs and they say like ludicrous speed. It literally looked like he pressed the ludicrous speed button and just launched himself into space.
They will win every race this year if they don't have reliability issues.
Yeah.
I think it's simple as that.
Which they were not entirely free of this race.
Nope.
Obviously Max had the suspension failure. Was it a suspension failure? Sorry.
Drive shaft.
Drive shaft. That's what it is. Drive shaft failure in qualifying, which ended his qualifying early, and he ended up in starting Q15. P15. Oh my God. I'm getting it. I'm so tired right now. I can't even keep qualifying and positions straight. He started in P15. And then throughout the race, more toward the end, we started to hear Max complain about the same issue again.
Yep.
He felt something was wrong. And even though the pit wall was telling him, like, it's fine, everything's fine, he kept insisting, like, no, if something is wrong, I can feel it.
Yeah, and my guess is the reason he didn't catch up to Checo was because he started to worry about the state of his car. And I think had he been pushing nonstop, he would have caught Checo. But it just wasn't worth it. He should just take the 18 points, or I guess he got fastest lap too, right? So 19 points.
No, he did. I don't believe he did get fastest lap.
I'm pretty sure he did.
We'll look. Okay, so Max did get fastest lap.
Yes.
But then we also heard Checo complaining about some things as well on his side.
Yep.
He just, cause I forget what his. Again, we were in the bar, so it was really hard to hear.
I thought he said something about brake balance or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it was something around that end of things, but it obviously didn't seem to affect because he just kept putting in phenomenal laps.
Yeah, he was flying.
Yeah, so whatever it was, maybe they were able to fix it. But at the end of the day, it didn't end either of their races. They didn't DNF. There was at one point we were watching when they were both complaining at the same time. It was kind of weird. It happened at the same time for both of them. And I was thinking, oh my God, are we going to see them both DNF here toward the end? Like, how crazy would that be? But yeah, I mean, overall, just again, like, phenomenal race. And I know, like, we were all expecting Max to just, like, move up, be at the end or even win the whole race, even though he was starting in P15 at the end. But still watching him work his way through the pack is still something amazing to watch.
Yeah. Well, like I said, he just has a faster car, so it's not very difficult for him to make those overtakes on the start-finish straight.
It's still fun.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the start, because obviously Sergio Perez took pole, and Alonso was there right behind him. Perez didn't have the best start ever. I wouldn't say he's known for his starts. He's known for how he's awesome on street circuits, which this is one. But I thought for a second there, oh boy, are we going to see an Aston Martin win this? Like,
I said to you that I said to you before the race started that Alonso would be leading out of turn one.
Yeah.
And I mean, granted, it's possible he could have been leading because he pulled up too far in a spot, and that's why he got a penalty. But either way, he was leading at the end of turn one, and that didn't really surprise me because, like you said, Checo's not really known for his starts. But it's just a matter of time until the Red Bull just shows how much better it is than everyone else. And I think it took him, 3 laps to take the lead back, and then he never lost the lead the rest of the race.
Yeah. When those Red Bulls are in clean air, like, they're already fast in general.
Well, even when they're not in clean air. Max was P15.
Yeah.
And he still ripped through everybody.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. These cars are way better than the competition.
Yeah. And he was able to pull a pretty significant gap between the two of them. I don't know if anyone could have seized a bit of an opportunity with this, Alonso, I think, could have done it. I think he could have, to be honest with you. I just don't know if the Aston Martin has yet tapped into that pure race pace. They're fast, obviously. They're doing something right.
Yeah. They have a great car. It's just when you compare it to the Red Bull,
Yeah, it's just lacking that bit of pace there. But, skill-wise, I think Alonso...
Yeah.
way better driver than Checo.
Yeah.
He just is.
Yeah.
So
sure.
I feel like for me it was more like the way Alonso could win this is if he outsmarts Checo and takes advantage of some of those things like a crappy start.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, in my opinion, the only way somebody outside of Red Bull is winning is if both Red Bulls DNF or some weird thing happens. It's just, I mean, yes, Fernando's a great driver. Charles is a great driver. George and Lewis are great drivers, but there's just so little chance of them winning if the Red Bulls are still on the grid.
Yeah.
It's just, they're that much better.
Mm-hmm. Let's go to the Aston Martin since we're already on the topic of Fernando Alonso. He had a really great race. I mean, even though he
2 penalties.
finished in third.
Yeah.
I'm putting that in air quotes for all of you who aren't watching the video version of this, but I thought he had a great race when he like we said, he took advantage of that situation at the start with Checo, but just wasn't able to hold him off on pure speed. And he took advantage. He had that 5-second penalty that they gave him at the beginning of the race. He was pulled too far up in the box.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the official call there?
Yeah.
And they gave him 5 seconds for it. So similar to what we saw with Ocon. Do we think
it's the same exact thing?
Yeah.
Ocon got a 5-second penalty for not lining up right, and then got a 10-second penalty for them touching his car too quickly. It's the same exact thing that happened with Fernando.
Do you think this is going to be like a trend? Is this one of the things that the FIA has decided this year that they're just going to watch like a absolute hawk?
I mean, I don't remember this being an issue past 2 years at least, but maybe teams are just getting over anxious and touching their car before they should, and it should be standardized. Will Buxton was tweeting about this. This shouldn't be an issue. And ignore the fact that Fernando wasn't told until 30 minutes after the race, which is already a joke. But there should be something set up in place where if a guy is given a penalty for that, don't let something happen to where the team can cause another penalty on top of it. Mm-hmm. He's getting penalized for having another penalty. It's just so stupid that that's the system and that they have their own guy with his own hand watch, making sure they hit. No, that is not how it should happen. The FIA should stop caring about friggin' jewelry and start caring about the actual race aspect of racing, which is their job. Mm-hmm. But, instead they worry about bicycles.
Bicycles and jewelry. The FIA has a real fetish around.
Yeah.
But what I thought was really strange, like you mentioned, so he got the 5-second penalty and we had a safety car. He served, or what we thought, he served that 5-second penalty during that box, during the safety car. Mm-hmm. And you and me were like, wow, that worked out perfectly for him. Mm-hmm. The safety car, he took the penalty. He's lost less time now. He still lost some time, but not as much as it would if there was no safety car. Mm-hmm. And then there was no indication that the penalty was served incorrectly. I didn't see any of the mechanics touch the car before somebody did. But then, at the end of the race, literally after the podium ceremony is over.
After he already accepted the trophy.
Yeah. Champagne, the whole shenanigans, it's all finished. The FIA is like, oh, hold up. We actually found out he didn't serve that penalty right. So another 10 seconds. So actually that whole podium, not yours anymore. George Russell, come on down.
Yeah. And this is the idiocy that's the FIA. Like, how does it take them 35 laps plus however many minutes to discover that somebody touched his car within that 5-second window?
Yeah.
I just don't understand how you can be with Esteban last 2 weeks ago, that they immediately let him know, oh, your car was touched before the 5-second window was up, another 10-second penalty.
Right.
And if that was the case, then yes, it should be a penalty, whatever. That's the rules. But, like, how, within 2 weeks of each other, can you just not say anything? Because it changes your race. Your strategy changes if you get another 10-second penalty.
Right.
Like, they're going to tell Alonso, all right, you need to just start driving like an animal.
Right.
Maybe we'll get you on soft tires because, we need to gain as many seconds as we can here. But they wait until after he's accepted the freaking medal to take the 10 seconds away from him. It just doesn't make any sense. And there's no, after Massey got fired and after the whole, debacle with Max and Lewis, I was kind of hopeful that the FIA had kind of figured their stuff out and was like, okay, we probably shouldn't do dumb stuff like that again.
Yeah, we can't make any more mistakes.
And here they are, judging people's jewelry and not caring about the actual race. It's like, okay, you start to wonder, how legit the sport is.
I think you start to question the governing body of the sport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's it's like FIFA. I question how legit FIFA is because we know the corruption that has gone on that's well documented.
Right.
It's like the FIA makes themselves look illegitimate by doing this stupid stuff.
Yeah.
And they just don't stop. And it's
Right.
where is the integrity of the sport? And is that going to a lot of Americans don't like that stuff.
Right.
So all the vast amount of American fans that they've gained from, the past 5 years with Netflix, how many of them are going to quickly realize, oh, this sport is probably rigged, and then stop watching?
Don't you find it a little to me it's shady that it happened so late after the race, which makes me think, did someone tip somebody off?
That shouldn't matter.
I know, but
Well, that just goes
sequence of
further to
events.
what I'm saying of the
absolutely.
illegitimacy of the sport.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's so funny because their job is to enforce the rules in which they've all come up with, but then they seem to not have any rules for themselves, at all. There should be a procedure around how long
Right.
it should take you
Exactly.
to divvy out a penalty. And
if a decision isn't made in 20 minutes post the event, whatever it is, no penalty.
And I'm sorry, but the fact that the teams use a hand stopwatch
I know, it's a
to
joke.
serve these penalties, I'm sorry. You are surrounded by groundbreaking technology. Yeah. And we're let's use this stopwatch I picked up at Dick's Sporting Goods last week. It doesn't make any sense to me. There should be sensors. You should be able to see via replay. Okay, this is when the clock started ticking. This is when someone touched the car at 4 minutes and 49 seconds. And it's just weird to me, too, when they divvied out the penalty. They didn't give a reason why. They just said it was an infringement when he served his penalty. They didn't say what the infringement was.
I think it's just safe to assume they touched the car inside 5 seconds.
I guess. But, that also was shady to me, too. Okay, we're going to wait this long. Then you're going to divvy out a penalty, but you're not going to tell us, exactly what that was.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure that might come out in a day or two, but it just was weird.
I'm sure it's already out there. They always have to release that little paper whenever they give out a penalty. I'm sure it explains why, but also I'm not a Alonso stan, so I don't care. I'm fine to see him off a podium. I don't really care, but I just don't get the inconsistency with F1 and the FIA.
You and me
just
both.
Doesn't make any sense, and it just makes them look like they're whispering to each other in a back room to decide who gets what, and that's it. And it's what do they have against Alonso? He's the what do people call him now? He's the Sith
Dark
Lord or
Lord.
whatever. The
The
Dark
Dark
Lord.
Lord.
Yeah. Like, so maybe the FIA is listening to all these people on TikTok, like, calling him the Sith Lord, and now they're, like, you know, conspiring against him. I don't know.
You know what this just like brings to my mind is like, Michael is so not right.
So not right. Yeah.
Except it was probably Toto that went to them after the race to be like,
Well, he got a guy on the podium, so it's definitely Toto. Yeah.
he was like, you have our engine. You guys are great. We suck. And this is my revenge.
Yes.
Besides,
Can we also talk about the fact that Mercedes got a podium before Ferrari got a podium?
okay, we'll get into that. Because we haven't even finished with the Aston Martins yet. Because we cannot forget
Yeah, Lance
Stroll, DNF. Unsure what has gone on. We're only a couple hours post race, so I haven't seen anything released, but it definitely didn't look good. And the radio message was very urgent, like, Lance, shut off the car, shut it off now.
Yep.
We did see like some flames coming from the car, but it was in fact from the brakes. It wasn't anything from the actual car itself. I mean, just not a great weekend for Aston Martin, which, I mean,
but think about what you just said, like finishing a car top 5 and the other one probably finishing in the top 6 or 7 had it not DNF'd. That's a bad weekend for Aston Martin. They're doing pretty good if that's a bad weekend.
If we're comparing it to last year,
exactly.
this isn't a half bad weekend.
Yeah, it is a bummer. I feel bad for Lance. He we've been talking about it. The fact that he's kind of battled back from the injury and says he's still not 100%. He had a decent qualifying, decent race. It is kind of a bummer that his car kind of pooped out on him, but what can you do?
I mean, Fernando, he's still sitting comfortably in third in the driver's standings at the moment.
And that's where he'll finish.
Yeah. So just not the best weekend for them, but hindsight, not horrible either.
No.
But just bad luck. It just seemed like a lot of bad luck for them.
They'll be all right.
Yeah.
They'll be all right.
They'll be more than fine. Let's move on to the team that you just mentioned a minute ago. Ferrari and Mercedes. Because I feel like they go hand in hand together with each other.
They shouldn't, but here we are.
Yeah, here we are. So not a horrible qualifying for the Ferraris. Still looked decent. I wouldn't say they looked any better than they did from the last race.
No, but still, in qualifying, they looked like the second fastest car.
Yeah, and the Mercedes also still looked kind of where they were last race. But during the race, the Ferraris were stuck behind them the entire time. I was like, what is going on?
I don't understand it.
Like, what's going on? Am I watching the slow death of Ferrari?
I mean, Charles, I can understand because he had to start P12 and had a lot of ground to make up.
Right, yeah.
But I don't understand how Sainz couldn't get past the Mercedes.
They could not.
That car is half the car that the Ferrari is. Mm-hmm. And they couldn't get it. I just don't get it. I don't get it.
They were not able to make up any ground.
Yeah.
There was a solid 2 second, 2.5, sometimes 3 second gap
the whole race
between Carlos Sainz and Lewis Hamilton, pretty much the entire race.
It just doesn't make sense because, we know that Mercedes is just not a well-built car with the new era.
Right.
And with this new era of car, it's easier to follow behind the cars that are in front of you because it displaces air up instead of back. So, you can't use the argument it's just that turbulent air. The Ferrari couldn't get around it. No.
Yeah.
There isn't that much turbulent air behind these cars anymore.
Yeah.
What is the excuse? How are you so fast in qualifying? Last week, 2 weeks ago, whatever, you were clearly the second fastest car, and then what happened? Now you're the fourth fastest car.
Yeah. I don't understand it because I expected those cars to be, first of all, above both Mercedes.
Yeah.
Let's start there.
Bare minimum.
But I expected to maybe one of them be on the podium this weekend.
Yep.
Obviously, Charles, he took that 10 grid place penalty, which was no fault of his own. He was starting at the back, but had a great qualifying, was able to put himself, in a better place than he could have been. And he was able to work his way up the pack, but then as soon as he got behind Carlos, it was like game over.
I said to you they should have let Charles through. There was a time when Charles had like DRS on Carlos, and I was like, they need to let him through. He's on soft tires.
Right.
They didn't let him through, and then all of a sudden
they pitted Carlos first.
Yeah, which he had mediums, and they pitted him first. I don't get that, but whatever. But then they got back on track, and they couldn't get within 3 seconds of the Mercedes, and then Charles couldn't get within 3 seconds of Carlos. I just didn't understand it.
And then they screwed
Lewis
sense. Hamilton over. They screwed Charles over by pitting him the way they did, and they gave Lewis the place back, basically, that Charles had already gained on him.
Yeah, I don't remember how that happened. I think the safety car influenced that. But yes, it was not ideal.
And Charles was mad. He was on the radio, and when he realized Lewis was in front of him, he literally was like, "You have to tell me that."
Yeah.
Like, why did you not inform me? He was mad.
As he should have been.
Yeah, and he literally told his team, like, "You have to tell me that."
Right.
And they were like, "Copy."
Yeah. We are checking.
We are checking.
Yep.
We are checking for new people to join team. We are checking.
So now they have the fourth fastest car, according to Jeddah. They have a driver who is absolutely furious that he has to deal with the team that he's on week in and week out. What's going to give here?
Yeah. I mean,
like Ferrari is a mid team. Like, people want to pretend it's this prestigious brand, and yeah, sure, you can call it that, but like, let's be real, they're a middle team.
I mean,
they're irrelevant.
Now they are looking
they're irrelevant. Like,
but what I don't get is, like, they really had a promise last year. Like, gave me a lot of hope. They really had a promising year last year. What held them back the most was their own dumb decisions.
Yeah, well,
not the car itself. So I thought for sure, like, you already have a solid car going into this year. You're obviously going to make changes to improve upon, but it almost looks like the car has gotten worse.
Oh, it definitely has. Or the other cars are just getting better much faster than they're getting better.
I mean, maybe, but the fact that Mercedes are above them are telling me it's getting worse.
Yep. Yeah. Well.
Not that everyone is progressing more than they are.
What's the next race? Australia?
I have to look, but yeah, I do think it is. It is Australia. So right now in the constructors' standings, hold on to your hats. Obviously Red Bull. Then it's Mercedes. Then it's Aston Martin, then Ferrari.
What's the gap between Mercedes and Aston Martin?
Aston Martin has 35. Mercedes has 41.
Okay, so they're 6 points up. Had Lance finished that race, they would be in second right now.
Right. I think that's obviously what hurt them. But I don't know. It just wasn't great to see and not very promising, especially after the crappy first race they've had, having to already take a penalty one race in.
Yep.
Which is crazy. And then seeing them trailing behind both Mercedes cars today and not able to make up any ground on them is definitely not promising. Doesn't give me a lot of hope. Nope. And Charles Leclerc should just start looking for other contracts.
This is I'm going to be saying this every episode until it actually happens. Charles needs the second Red Bull seat. Just give it to him. Just leave Ferrari, leave that garbage heap, whatever they are, and get in the fastest car. And then we have Charles and Max battles every single race. Yeah. That's what we all want.
Give the people what they want.
Exactly.
Speaking of the Mercedes, obviously they had a better race than I think anyone expected them to have today. Specifically, George Russell had a great race because he ended up on the podium unofficially. Officially. But in all seriousness, though, I remember watching the race and I was like, wow, look at Russell. Russell is up there. Like, there were times where there were like 4 or 5 places between him and Lewis. And I was like, okay, George, Do you think we're going to see, like last year we saw George like dominate over Lewis Hamilton pretty much the whole year? Do you think
I don't think he dominated the whole year. I mean, he beat him in points.
His performance was way more consistent than Lewis Hamilton's. But do you think we're going to see something similar this year?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I think George is a better driver right now. Probably not overall, when Lewis was in his prime, but Lewis isn't in his prime anymore. So, George is a pretty well-renowned driver. I don't think it's really surprising.
No. It's exciting.
I mean, it is and it isn't. It isn't because it's not that good of a car. So, it's interesting to see a driver beat Lewis. That's not common. A teammate beat Lewis.
Yeah.
But they're not competing for wins. So,
right.
it's just it's a side story now.
Yeah, I guess so. But it definitely, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder, Lewis has been able to just drive a car that has been catered to him, and he's been able to and get comfortable with most of his time at Mercedes. Now, all of a sudden, the car is different. It's not so comfortable. He has to work with the team to develop it, and we just can't see him seem to get comfortable with it. And he even said, I saw a quote this week, I am not comfortable in this car.
Right. But I don't think that's necessarily his fault. I think it's because it's a garbage car.
Well, it's obviously not too garbage if we're seeing George Russell get it up into third or fourth place.
George Russell got a podium on a technicality. Without Fernando getting the penalty, without Lance DNFing, I don't think George is up there. I do think it's impressive that they beat the Ferraris. That, to me, is the bigger story, and the Ferraris need to find out either why they backtracked or Mercedes is going forward. But to me, at the end of the day, yes, George got a podium technically, but I don't think we're going to be seeing that car on the podium often this year.
I don't know. It's only the second race of the whole season, but it just makes me not feel great about Ferrari in general and what's going on there. You mentioned, obviously, Lance DNFing. We had another DNF.
Alex, yeah.
Alex Albon, and you're wearing your Williams hat this evening.
I am.
So,
jinxed him. Sorry, Alex.
Kind of a bummer because Alex was having a pretty decent race.
He had a really good race.
Yeah.
He was going to score some points.
And he was having some brake issues and had to limp that poor little Williams home.
Yeah.
Obviously a bummer. That team seems to be doing better this year. Sure. They're still toward the bottom, but they're not at least the last. So that was a bummer. Logan Sargent had a decent race.
Yeah, no, he did
Felt
pretty well.
so bad for him in qualifying.
Yeah, he got screwed over in qualifying. It's a really dumb rule. His left front tire barely touching that line and gets his lap time deleted. He would have made it through to Q2.
Yeah.
So
he did have a stellar lap. Just wasn't able to recover.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that the FIA probably turns a blind eye to if it was Max, but because it isn't, they actually care. So,
yeah.
But yeah, he had an okay race, I think.
Saw him getting in some battles.
Yeah, towards the end, he was really trying to hold off the two McLarens. Oscar somehow made his way around, but he held off Lando, and he had a decent race. I don't think it was amazing, but
right.
It's his second race in F1. He kind of hung in there.
Wasn't finishing last, and that's what's most important.
Yep.
Speaking of last, McLaren.
Mm-hmm.
It just keeps getting worse and worse for that team.
Well, Oscar put that car P9 in quali. That's really impressive.
That's true. Yeah, Piastri did have a really great showing in qualifying.
Just got really unlucky on the first corner.
Yeah, poor Lando unfortunately tapped that front part of the vehicle on the wall, and that just ended his qualifying. But they just didn't, you could see during the whole race, they just did not have the pace of everybody else.
Nope.
The fact that we were seeing McLaren's fight with Mercedes and Ferraris last year, and now we're seeing them fight with Williams.
Yeah. They have arguably the worst car on the grid right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
It makes me so sad for so many reasons. One, I think Lando Norris is crazy talented. And the fact that we've seen him in a decent car and how he can perform there. Mm-hmm. And now just seeing him in a crap box of a car. That's sad and disappointing. But also Piastri, like, he left Alpine.
Yep.
He left Alpine for McLaren, and McLaren is like horrible, and Alpine is at least decent. They're not at the
Both their
very
cars
top,
made
but
it to Q3.
yeah, it's just like I hurt for him.
Yeah, well.
Like, you can't tell me he's not regretting this right now. There's no way.
Well, that's how, that's life.
That's life. That's life.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of a bummer, but hey, maybe better luck in Australia.
I hope they just ditch this car and focus on next year, McLaren. I think they should just. It's not worth the money and time investment, especially the cost cap.
Well, apparently,
just bottle it and work on next year's car.
I mean, they're trying to fix this one at least.
It's a waste of time.
I mean, we'll see what happens. Upgrades are apparently coming.
Like, where are they going to gain an extra 2 seconds a lap?
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a question for them.
It ain't happening. That's my point. Like, just stop.
Just stop already.
Yes.
Just give up. I know it's only the second race of the season, but just give up already.
It's cost cap. Like, how much money are you going to try and dump in and try and gain 2 seconds? Like, you got to dump in billions to gain that much time.
Billions.
Yeah. Yeah. Not going to happen.
Yeah.
Sorry, McLaren. Just quit.
It just makes me sad.
Yeah, well.
I like Lando Norris a lot. Maybe he'll just spend this year focusing on his DJing and his merchandise line.
No, he should be moving to another team, too.
Where do you want to see him move to?
Merc, after Lewis is out.
Well, I don't know. Lewis sounds like he's trying to stick around and pull an Alonso. So.
Well, I mean, if he can't keep up with George, why wouldn't they be like, well, no, we're not going to re-sign you. We're going to take Lando.
I could never see Mercedes doing that.
Who cares? Like, it's all about how you perform.
I feel like Toto would rather, Toto would just walk into the ocean and just never come back out before he would tell Lewis, we're not re-signing your contract. I don't know. They're just so, like, Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton at this point are so one and the same to me, and I think even to them. I couldn't see that team without Lewis Hamilton.
Well, if George keeps beating him, you're about to see a team without him.
We'll see. But before we wrap up this race discussion,
yes.
Well, first of all, do you have any other people you want to talk about? Alpine had a decent race.
Eh.
It was okay.
Yeah.
Wasn't horrible.
Yeah.
Ocon didn't receive 500 penalties, so it's already better than last race.
That's a win.
He gave that luck to Fernando Alonso this week.
Yeah. Yuki did okay. Almost scored a point.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about Yuki. Yeah. Impressive. Well, first of all, I have to apologize to Yuki Tsunoda. Because I have been saying I think Nick DeVries was going to wipe the floor with him, and that has not been the case for these first two races.
We're only 2 races in, so give Nick some time, but Yuki's definitely making him look like he's a rookie.
Yeah. I mean, DeVries just not impressive in qualifying.
Mediocre racing,
Yeah.
But again, he's 2 races into his career, 3 technically, I guess, right? But
yeah, but I don't know. I just felt like, where's the Nick DeVries that hopped into Williams last year?
I don't know.
Where's that Nick DeVries? Where's the Formula E champion Nick DeVries?
If we don't see him soon, they might sign Iwasa. Imagine if there's 2 Japanese drivers at AlphaTauri.
Pulling
That'd be
like
pretty
an
cool.
Alpine situation.
That'd be cool, except AlphaTauri's Italian.
The national team of Japan.
Yeah, they should just get like a Japanese main sponsor.
Yeah, change your colors from like white to blue to like white to red.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be cool. But overall, yeah, pretty decent race for Yuki Tsunoda. We saw him taking some ballsy moves, that's for sure.
Yeah.
He had an overtake, I believe, on an Alfa Romeo. Guys, I'm telling you, I really need a nap. We saw him overtake someone, and I remember everybody in the bar going like, "Whoa!"
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
K-Mag had a good overtake on Yuki right at the end of the race.
Yeah.
For that last points position.
I put on our Instagram too. At one point, it was like, I have to look back at it. That's gonna drive me insane that I don't remember it. But there was at one point in the race where we had, I think it was after the flag,
Oh, Red Bull.
We had Alpine, Haas, Williams. All right next to it, from 9th place to 14th place.
Well, and then probably above that was Ferrari, Mercedes.
Yeah.
One Aston, because the other one was, getting lifted off the ground, and then 2 Red Bulls.
It was kind of funny to see it. But yeah. Before we wrap up, though, the whole race discussion, what was going on with the musicians for the Saudi national anthem?
Well, it's a good thing we didn't hear it, because...
Oh, I heard it when we came home because I was watching clips.
Yeah. I mean, like in the moment.
What was happening?
It sounded like a 3rd grade band playing
It sounded so bad, and part of me was like, "Wait, is like this how it's supposed to sound?"
No.
And then I was like, "No," and it was so funny because in the clip you can see like when they go to certain drivers, they do this every time the national anthem, certain people on the grid, and you could see them like they're thinking exactly what I'm thinking, which is it supposed to sound like that?
Yep, 3rd grade band.
Someone just went in there, messed with all of their instruments before they went on out, and...
But think about all the money that they have, and they couldn't hire like a regular band to play their national anthem.
I don't know who the people were.
I don't get it.
I had a feeling they had something to do with they're part of the government in some way, shape, or maybe the military. I don't know. But whatever they're doing, maybe they should not be playing instruments.
Yeah, just stop doing that. Yep.
It was so bad.
Yep.
So apologies to everybody that had to sit there and hear that because...
That was rough.
Yikes. It was rough.
Yep.
But we need to talk about this. How did I forget about this?
What?
Something else that happened after the race, besides Alonso's penalty. Jost Verstappen.
It's just
Jost, whatever. I don't care at this point because he cold-shouldered Sergio Perez so hard before the podium. It was like, dude, come on.
How is this a surprise to anybody? Coming from the dude who like beat his child and left him on the side of the road in Belgium or some nonsense.
We do not promote children violence, period, on this podcast.
Obviously not. And that's why I'm not surprised that this buffoon just pretends like Checo doesn't exist after he wins a race. Guy's a moron.
If you haven't seen the clip, you know how all the mechanics and all the team come running up to like, the barriers and, driver gets out, runs over to the team, celebrates. Jost is right there at the barrier and like Sergio kind of like comes to him and you can tell he's kind of like, and then I'm sure he saw Jost's like emotionless face and was just like, I'm going to keep going.
Wish Checo just like flicked him off or something.
Yeah.
That would have been great.
Or purposely like just put his hand out and refused to move it until he shakes it.
Yeah.
But it was obviously a snub.
Yeah, Jost is a clown.
Get over yourself, dude. Your son is still going to win.
That team is full of clowns, and it makes me so mad that they just win all the time. Like Christian Horner is the clown of clowns.
He's the leader of the clowns.
He's it. You Pennywise, whatever. He's like the ultimate clown. Helmut Marko is a clown. Jost is a clown. Like they're just everyone's a bunch of idiots there.
Right.
They're not idiots. They're actually smart. They're just like diabolical idiot. Like,
Yeah. I mean, but what kind of blows my mind is like, yeah, Max has learned a lot of like the way he acts and carries himself from his dad. But I don't ever see Max Verstappen doing something like that. Like he still shows respect. He still shakes hands.
Maybe that's his mother in him because his father's definitely not like that.
Yeah. Wow, I wonder why they're divorced.
Yeah.
Imagine how fights would go between him and his wife.
I don't even want to.
Dear God.
Yeah.
That sounds horrible. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, just poor sportsmanship overall. Like, get over it, dude. Yeah. It's only the second race of the season, and I don't know if you checked the scoreboard, but your son is still leading.
Yeah.
So don't worry, you can still print your championship t-shirts now. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I just found it very unprofessional.
Yeah, he's a buffoon.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we are bringing back a segment.
Yes.
That you all loved so much.
Yes.
Last year. We're bringing it back, and it is the meme of the week.
Meme of the week.
Meme of the week.
We will we'll post it like here, there, over there. I don't know.
If you're watching us, it'll come up on the screen. If you're not watching us, make sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram, where we will post meme of the week.
Yes.
So Matt, take it away. This is your brainchild.
The meme of the week is a hilarious video of a guy playing F1 2023 just ripping by everybody as he's singing Katy Perry. And that's literally Max Verstappen this whole year. All he's going to do is just blare Katy Perry, fireworks, whatever. Was it?
It's California Girl.
Yeah, you're right. I think the song is California Girl.
I'm gonna play it here. I'm gonna get in trouble for copyright.
I was gonna say, now we're gonna get sued by Katy Perry.
That was only about less than 10%. It's literally this guy. So it's like a split screen, and it's this guy at the top.
We don't have to explain it because we're gonna literally.
Well, I feel like I have to just like explain this a little bit because it's so hilarious. It's just like this gamer guy in his bedroom, like jamming out, and
he's playing F1 23 on Uber easy mode, if that's even a thing, and he's just blitzing by people.
Imagine
like they're not even there.
When we saw Max Verstappen pass Lewis Hamilton on the track, imagine that situation, but with all of the cars on the grid.
The whole way. Yep. That was Max today.
And
that will be Max for the rest of the season.
That will be Max.
If he doesn't qualify on pole, then he'll just catch up to everybody and then do that, as he's lapping everybody.
Who did I see on Twitter? Oh, it's the guys from formerly WTF1, but now called P1, Matt Gallagher.
Gallagher, yeah.
He tweeted, he goes, "Thanks, Max Verstappen, for trying to make this race exciting, you legend," meaning like thanks for DNFing out of qualifying.
Imagine, I'll bet you, this would be an interesting maybe not. I'll bet you Max would finish top 2 in the Constructors' Championship if he had to start the race, every single race from 20th. I'll bet you he could still finish top 2.
Hey, FIA, if you're going to impose any more new rules, here's
that would
one
be
for
sweet.
you.
Imagine.
Max
There's
Verstappen.
Max automatically, you start dead last and just let him zip by everybody.
Yeah. Actually, let's adopt the reverse grid idea.
Yes.
I think at this point, with the way things are going this year, but only applies to the Red Bulls.
Only Red Bull.
They have to start at the back of the grid.
Red Bulls aren't even allowed to qualify. They're just 19th and 20th. Everyone else, go ahead.
Yeah.
And then we'll see if the Red Bulls can still win the race, which they probably will.
Definitely. Now that meme of the week is finished, let's move on to admin. What do we call it? What did we call it last year?
The admin awards.
The admin awards. Oh my God. Yes, you're right. Admin awards are back. And this week, there was nothing crazy being posted. Good content overall. But I have to choose Ferrari. One, there's 2 reasons. I think they've stepped up their social media game this year. I've definitely seen effort put forth to make things a little bit more social media-y and less Ferrari propaganda.
Well, you got to get better at something because they're not getting better at racing.
Yeah. This is true. But I mean, they gave the people what they wanted, and that is Charles and Carlos in an ice bath. And I mean, it's hard to beat an ice bath situation. When you post something like that, it's like, mic drop. Just everybody else go home. I mean, especially when you have 2 good-looking drivers like Carlos and Charles. Like, come on. Nobody really wants to see,
Ferrari's like, we can't win, but we got 2 really good-looking drivers. Come check it out.
We won on this end of the spectrum.
Yeah, exactly.
So my admin of the week goes to Ferrari. Just
congrats, Ferrari. You won something. Good for you.
You won something, and that something actually means absolutely nothing.
Do you want a trophy?
It's
the only trophy you'll get.
Here's the admin awards. I do have to say Mercedes did come in close second because they really capitalized on the George Russell opening F1 scene.
Oh, yeah, the memes of that.
Yeah. Yeah, the pose, the George Russell pose. They're
it.
really capitalizing on that and riding that wave. But, I mean, I love George, but he's not the best actor in the world. So sometimes when they have him do things that require him to kind of fake situations, it doesn't come off as good. Yeah. But A+ for trying. Second place for you this week. don't usually give second places. So, I mean, that really shows something.
Yeah. Congrats, George.
All right, guys, thank you for joining us. Thank you for sticking with us, even though we're in like a slight comatose state right now. Combination of too many carbs and too many drinks before noon.
Yes.
This is what this is. And we're officially old. So thanks for joining. As always, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. You can follow us on YouTube, Twitter, all the social medias, and wherever you find your social media at Mr. and Mrs. F1 Pod. Leave us a comment. Leave us a review. And yeah, thank you. We appreciate you all.
See you in a couple weeks.
See you in Australia.
That's right.
Danny Rick.
Psych.
All right. Bye-bye.